There is a lot of stuff that no one will ever tell you about running $1 million cleaning business. And so we're going to bust that open today, and I'm going to share with you some of those ideas that I want you to think about. All right, so the very first thing is it's going to require a whole lot of hard work. Really, really, really hard work for a lot of years. Nobody wakes up one day and they're broke, and then the next day they run $1 million cleaning business. Okay, it just doesn't happen that way. And I want to back up for a second and say that there's a lot of things that don't go into factoring of a business that you have to factor in if you're going to run $1 million business and then sustain that. And that sustaining it is the key. I work with a lot of different people who are in the $1 million range, and yet they come to me because their health is failing. They have clogged arteries and they're having heart attacks and they have stress. They're staying up at night because they can't sleep because they're overwhelmed. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's been triggered by their goal and ambitions of running $1 million business. So if you're going to run $1 million cleaning business, you have to be aware of what it is that you're getting into and what the requirements and the price you're going to pay for that luxury. Okay. And I say the luxury, meaning whatever that $1 million is to you. Let's first decide, are we talking about $1 million gross or $1 million net? Because they're two very different things. And as a $1 million business that's bringing in $1 million in revenue, one of the things that you have to be keenly aware of that a lot of people don't talk about is how much money you're actually spending in order to get from here to that $1 million in gross. So if you're running $1 million cleaning business, you're going to have about 30 employees. That's kind of a baseline. But let me back up for a second. Let's talk about just being a solo entrepreneur. If you're a solo person and you're getting involved in the cleaning business, you're not, like I said, going to go from zero to $1 million. There are a lot of steps along the way that you have to take, and you have to be willing to take along the way in order to get there. It's like when you're born. You don't be born and then like, hi, I want to be a teenager. It doesn't work that way, okay? You're born and you're a little infant and you lay in a little bed and you cry for a while and someone feeds you and you are 100% dependent on someone else. Then you become a toddler and you start to grow legs and then you're like really wobbly and you learn to walk and then you learn to run and then you gain confidence. And all of a sudden you start having an attitude and opinions and you start dictating to your parents how things are going to be. And your parents are like, no, that's not how it goes, right? And you go through these weird, awkward growth phases until one day, miraculously, you wake up and hello, you are a teenager, okay? But you don't go from born to being a teenager. There are a lot of steps and a lot of processes in the way. And so being a $1 million cleaning business is a lot of steps along the way. Now, when you're born with a certain set of circumstances. And this is undeniable. I didn't make this up. This is not something I can change for you, but it's something you need to be aware of because we were all born with different things, okay? I was born in a really large family. I'm one of 19 kids. And so every single day, whether I liked it or not, whether I pretended that things were different or not, I lived in a house with 21 people. 21 people, that's my two parents and my 18 siblings and me. And every day, somebody in my house was having a bad attitude. And there are different biorhythms and different mood swings and different ages and different genders and all this different stuff that's going on that you have to navigate. And so when I moved out into the real world and I started my first cleaning business, I had a very unique set of people skills because I had navigated at least 21 personalities and behaviors and age ranges and all those things on a daily basis. So when I moved out into the real world and there were all these weird personalities and whatever, I'm like, seen that before. I got this. And it was my comfort zone, okay? We did not, however, have money. And so there are people that were born in very, very affluent homes, and asking for money was never a problem for them. And so from day one, they could walk into a house and go, I'm not going to take that price. I need this amount because that's my worth. And they had no problem whatsoever asking for money. I had problems asking for money because that was not my comfort zone, okay? So we all have a different set of life's lessons that we show up with to the game. Now, what no one tells you about running a multi-million-dollar business is this. There will be people that will hoodwink you into thinking, my way is the only way in. You have to follow my systems and you have to follow it my way, okay? Be aware, be very aware of people that sell that to you, okay? There's no one way. There are lots of different ways into the business and there are lots of different ways to do the business. But what you're showing up with on day one is whatever those life's lessons are that you showed up with. Okay. So we don't all have the same lessons. So there can't possibly be only one way. There have to be a lot of different ways that accommodate all the different learning styles and the different life's lessons that we showed up with. Okay. So be aware that there are a lot of ways in the door. No one way works. There are ways that are good that will get you from here to there, and that's great advice. But please be aware that you can tweak any process and you can make any changes along the way so that it fits in with your lifestyle and your set of beliefs. Now, I want to stop for just a second and say right now, we're having a conversation. How you got to this conversation, I don't know. How I got to the conversation is a little bit different than you because I'm on this side of the camera and you're on that side, okay? We both have different sets of skills. One of us is talking, one of us is listening. But the reality is we both arrived in this exact moment together. Here we are, right here, you and me, right? And so how we got here is not important. We both came in from different avenues, but yet here we are having this conversation together, okay? So I just want you to be aware there are different ways in, and nobody's going to tell you that. People will tell you, oh, there's only one way in. And you're like, oh, I better pay all this money and I better go find the one way. There's not one way. There are lots of ways. Right? The next thing that people will not tell you, and I need you to be keenly aware of this, is you're going to end up spending a lot of money to get to $1 million. Okay? And the reason I say that is because if you are a solo operator, you have to, for the beginning, and we'll just start out with one person that's starting out from, let's say, an infant, and they're going to go to be a teenager, or go from being a solo operator to $1 million business. The very first thing that we have to look at is you will have one vehicle that gets you to and from your jobs in most cases. So that is the cost of one vehicle, vehicle payments, fuel for the vehicle, registration for the vehicle. You have taxes you have to pay if you have property taxes for the vehicle. You also have to make sure that you have maintenance on the vehicle and that you do the tire rotation and the oil changes and all of the things that go along with having a vehicle for your business. You also have to have insurance for that vehicle. You also have to have personal insurance, which is going to be a general liability for your business. As you hire people, you will have workers' compensation and you will have other expenses. But for the very beginning, at least you have general liability, okay? There are other costs associated with running a business that include your internet service and your smartphone service. And you will have some form of a website and web hosting and domain name registration. You will also have the expenses of hiring somebody to do your SEO, or you will have to hire a course, take a class or something in order to learn SEO so that you can make your way into the search engines so that people can find you. You will forever, from here till infinity, have an ongoing marketing expense. You need to have a marketing budget and an advertising budget. The marketing sets up all of your social media and your websites and blogs and all of those things. And then the advertising is what you pay someone or you pay organizations or companies to drive people to those marketing avenues that you've set up. So forever, you will have marketing expenses, even if you're only one person. And as one person, you spend a lot of your time creating that so that you have that in place so that you can drive advertising dollars to that. But you will spend a fortune doing that. I want to encourage you to also set aside a bank account that has nothing to do with anything except taxes. Because as you grow your business, you're going to end up spending more and more and more money each year on taxes. And if you're not prepared for that, it's going to freak you out the first time that you have to write a $330,000 check to the IRS for taxes for money that you earned that year, right? So you need to start putting it in a bank account off of every single job that comes in. Put away about 30% of your revenues inside a tax account that you can then just write a check at the end of the year. That's not your money. But if it's mixed in with all of your other accounts, it's going to really pinch you when you have to start writing those big checks. Now, every single month from here on out, your checks are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger that you write. Because as your business grows, you have more expenses. As a solo operator, you may not have an advertising budget. As you start to grow, now you've got to fill in the gaps of the people that you're hiring. So you will have an advertising budget. And if you have up to 30 people, that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger with every month. Right? As a solo operator, you have one uniform. That's going to be about 7 shirts, maybe 3 or 4 pair of pants. But if you times that by 30 people on a team, that's a lot of uniforms that you're going to be buying. If you're buying gloves for yourself, and it's about 10 cents per pair of gloves, you might be able to buy a case of gloves, and I'm talking about a case with like a pack of 100, 10 or 20 of those boxes. You might be able to get by with that for 6 months or a year. But if you have 30 people on your team, you're going to be going through a great big case of those gloves probably every other week or every month. So the expenses just go up, right? And you have to be willing to spend that money. And a lot of people don't want to tell you that, but there's a lot of expense in personal protective equipment, in uniforms. You have all of your recruiting expenses. And so if you have a team with lots of people, there's an ongoing, never ending rotating process of recruiting ads, recruiting, hiring, training. It's a huge part of your budget. So you also have a huge part of your budget, which are your payroll expenses. And that's going to be about 40% of your revenues that come through the door. And so there's a lot of money that you're going to spend. And I want you to just get in the habit of thinking, oh, it costs money to grow a business. And if you are going to grow a business, you have to be willing to spend money. And so I'm encouraging you to really start figuring out your numbers if you don't know your numbers. I did not grow up with math. That was not my specialty. And so although I was really great with people skills, I had to learn about money management, and I had to learn about the accounting and how the numbers worked. I had to learn about taxes and payroll and all of those things. So you have to be willing also to spend on education. And whether you spend that money in taking classes or hiring trainers or hiring coaches or hiring somebody to come in and set up the systems for you or whatever, you've got to pay money somewhere. And I want to encourage you, we live in an era right now where there are a lot of different really great pieces of software and apps and software as a service opportunities where you can pay a service every month. And it might be $100 a month for a service that does a whole bunch of things for you, like scheduling and invoicing and reminding clients and GPS tracking for employees and all these different things that's going to remove gobs of admin tasks for you. And so in order to get from here to $1 million, we have to start thinking in terms of automation and systems. And so nobody gets to $1 million of a cleaning business by themselves. Nobody does. And so you have to have a team of people, whether it's virtual assistants, whether it's remote people that answer the telephones on weekends and evenings when you're not there, whether it's chat services that are in the corner of your website, whether it's people that jump in and help you with social media. I don't know what it looks like for your business, but you do not get to be $1 million cleaning company unless you have a lot of those facets already in place. Now, as your business starts to grow, you will be thinking long term because you don't get to have $1 million cleaning business without putting some stuff in place for the future. What happens at the end of your business? Are you going to sell your business? Are you going to just spin out and franchise it and have a bunch of people come under you? What does that look like? And so if you are a young business, and I say young meaning you're a solo entrepreneur, you have 1 or 2 to 5 people, and you're just kind of getting your business up and off the ground, what does that look like for you long term? And why I bring this up is because right now you can start putting things together in place that will forever serve you. For example, you need a style brand kit. What that means is you need your own logo and it needs to be trademarked. You need to have fonts that are either trademarked or they are specific to your brand that you use on all of your social media and in all of your marketing and on your website. So you have a consistent, cohesive message. You need to have brand colors so that all of your uniforms match your logos and it matches your company cars and it matches all the different things that you do in your business because you want someone at a glance to go, oh yes, that's Savvy Cleaner or whatever the name of your company is, and you want to be able to recognize it instantly. If you do not have a style brand kit, borrow mine. If you go to savvycleaner.com, right there in the top menu bar, there's something called affiliates. This is for the affiliates that recommend Savvy Cleaner to their friends. Underneath that, there's a Savvy Cleaner style guide. And if you click on that, it will show you all the different things about our business and you can just copy it, change the words and make it your own. It's things like, what does your company believe in? And that's really important to know because if you have 30 people that are on your team and they're out in the field, you want those 30 people to be able to know off the top of their head without any questions. My company doesn't say those things. My company doesn't dress that way. My company doesn't show up that late. You know what I mean? They need to know what the rules are of your business. Because if you don't know what the rules of your business are and you can't articulate it, and everyone on your team can't articulate it, how on earth do you expect to enforce it? You can't. And if you're running a big company, you got to make sure that everyone is playing on the same page. Where it gets really good is this. If you go to hire someone, and you will, okay, I said you can't do it alone. You will hire someone. And that might be a marketing team that takes over your marketing and they're going to make all of your social media posts, or they're going to be making your brochures or your advertisements or recruiting for you or training for you or whatever it is they do. They need to be able to look at your brand style guide and say, oh, this is what we call our members. This is what we call our house cleaners. This is what we call our customers. This is our code of ethics. And they need to know all of those things in addition to having copies of your logo and your colors and your fonts and all of the different brand images that you want shared out into the marketplace. Because when you go to sell your business later on, you want to make sure that you have a well-oiled machine, that there's something to sell. If you don't have all that stuff in place, there's nothing to sell except just a fancy customer list, and the customers don't owe you anything, and they don't have to stay on with a new company. So it's kind of like a crapshoot, right? But if you have a whole bunch of marketing materials and you have a system in place and you have a hiring system and you have a recruiting system and you have all these different systems, and then you can back it up by your brand style guides and by all of your metrics, that's where all of a sudden now you have something to sell. I just used the word metrics. And it's really awesome because if you're a solo operator, now is the time to start learning your numbers. Everything we live in right now, everything that we're doing, everything is a metric. And we call them algorithms when we're talking about the internet. But what that is how do things work and how do they look over the long haul? And if this happens, what triggers this over here, okay? And so what that means is if we're looking at ratings and reviews, our ratings and reviews are an internal algorithm for our business. If we're getting bad reviews, what does that tell us? What we're doing is not working. We have to change that. We have to measure those results and we have to make the changes. If we're getting employee complaints and the employees are like, I'm not happy working here, I don't like working with my co-partner or my teammate, that's an algorithm. That's an internal employee algorithm that you need to start following. Do we need more training? Do we need to bust things up a little bit? Do we need to have kindness and courtesy training? What is going on here? Those are metrics that you need to follow and be very keenly aware of, and then make those slight tweaks. And as you grow to $1 million in your business, this is something no one will tell you, you have to be willing to make constant tweaks along the way. And when you settle on something and it's working, stop and just let it set for a little bit. Okay, like if you land on a certain set of cleaning supplies, don't keep tweaking it and don't keep changing it. There are things you have to change based on your internal algorithms of what is working. And if it's working, just let it set. Settle on a set of cleaning equipment and cleaning supplies and cleaning sponges and cleaning vacuums and cleaning mops and cleaning whatever it is that you're using. And don't keep changing things up every week, every month. That's just aggravating to everyone and it's confusing and nobody knows what they're supposed to use on what, right? But if you settle on something, everyone on the team can learn and get up to speed. And if you make one change, you bring in one new powder cleanser and you change the old one out, there's a memo that goes out to everyone. Everyone on the team is aware of what it is. You change out the safety data sheets. You do a training on that particular item. Boom, that's the new thing. And it's a seamless and organic transition. But then when you go to sell your business, this is the system, right? If you don't have systems, there's nothing to sell. So you can't sell it one day later on. All right, another thing that they don't tell you on your way to $1 million cleaning business is that you have to be willing to delegate. And it is really frightening as an entrepreneur when you started this company and this is your baby and you're like, it's mine, I have to do it my way. And there's a part of us that wants to make sure that we're doing it correctly. And it's not that we're a control freak as much as it is we want to do right by our customer. We want to make sure that we are providing the very best customer service or that we're doing it the most easy and efficient way. And so it's easy for us to jump in and go, no, we're going to do it my way. You have to be willing to delegate and you have to be willing to make mistakes. Now, if mistakes are made repeatedly over and over and over, you've got to take your people back through training and say, hey, listen, this is a deal breaker for me. We've brought this up on numerous occasions. We talked about this. You signed off on it. This is in your employee file. I understand that you understood these were the way that we were making these changes, and yet the changes have not been made. So I'm going to give us one more chance on this, and then next time you will get written up for this. And you have to be willing to make mistakes, but you also have to be willing to retrain, and you have to be willing to let that weird energy happen in your business. It's like letting an infant learn how to walk. You don't give them one chance at walking and they're a little bit wobbly and then they fall over and you're like, nope, sorry, kid, you don't get to learn to walk. That's it for you. You're out of here. We don't do that. We're like, no, no, you're close. Come on, you got this. And you hold out your arms and you try to be as supportive as possible. And you kind of like let them get their balance and they're going to wobble and they're going to fall over. They're going to fall over again and again and again and again. And you have to be willing to let that happen. It is easy as a business owner to say, well, I've hired this person for 2 weeks and they didn't work out and they're out of here. That's not how you run $1 million cleaning company. How you run $1 million cleaning company is you give people 199 tries. I'm kidding. It's not really 199, but in our business, that's where we start. And the reason being is because I know going in that when I hire somebody new, I know they're going to wobble and I know they're going to fall down. And I have to be willing to let that happen. I also have to be willing to understand that I'm going to be impatient. Every parent that's trying to teach a child how to walk is going to get frustrated, right? They're just going to get frustrated and go, pick it up already. All right. It takes time. Some kids learn how to walk really fast. Some kids, it takes months. And some kids just crawl around until they're 2 or 3 years old. Okay. So you're going to hire people that are going to crawl around in your business for a couple of years and they're not going to get it. And so you have to decide, is this person right for my business? Can I shift them over to maybe another avenue of the business where crawling is okay? And they're not required to like run at a really fast pace because they don't have those skills or those capabilities yet. I've shifted people around in my business up to 11 times before either they said, I'm not right for this business, I got to get out of here, or they're like, I found my game. And then I was like, yes. There's a girl that works in our business right now. She's been here for about 5 years, and I was going to fire her like 134 times. She didn't get it. But she was really good at a lot of things, and she was really talented, and she's super smart. I was just putting her in the wrong position for her skill set. And so if you're willing to kind of shift things around a little bit, there are people that will be very, very loyal to your company, and they will have your best interest in mind. And what they're really good at is probably something money cannot buy. And you'll be delighted when they finally land in their zone. But as a business owner that's going to grow an entire monster empire, you have to be willing to let people make mistakes. And you yourself have to be willing to make mistakes. Now, it's easy to say, oh, I'm just perfect. I never make mistakes. We're going to do it my way and all those things. That is not the case. Because you are human and because you got here with whatever skill set that you have, that is what you are working from. And you still have limitations because there are still things you do not know. And I want to say that because I've now been in business for 31 years. And there are still things I don't know. I'm learning things right now about business that I never knew before. And while I was in business, a whole bunch of things changed. The internet came into vogue while I had my business. We used to run yellow page ads. And that was like printed paper in a phone book that they dropped off at your house. That's not how advertising works anymore, right? The whole world has changed. There were no websites when I started my business. And that's just a common calling card that we have in business today. So the world around you will shift. The apps around you will shift. The people around you will shift. The rules of engagement for business and customers' expectations will shift. And you have to be willing to kind of flex with that. Because if you don't, you might have $1 million business, but I promise you this, you will sabotage it. Because doing things the old way and not being flexible and not being willing to make the changes as they come up are going to kill you. And one of the biggest challenges that we have in this business, there are people that did not come from $1 million business backgrounds. And so when they finally arrive at their first $1 million, they sabotage it unconsciously with a bunch of weird excuses and chaotic behaviors because they don't know how to deal with their newfound wealth. And so if you will get in the habit of learning and growing, just like the little infant that kind of learns as he goes and grows, we're going to do the same thing in business. Because if you start out, and this is frightening for me, we went from yellow page ads and referrals only, okay? So all my competitors were running yellow page ads. We were working by referrals only. We never paid for a yellow page ad. We ran our business for 25 years and never paid a dime in advertising. So when we started advertising, and this is I moved my business online, the world changed, we're shifting, we're now going to pay for ads in order to build an online marketplace. The first time I wrote a $400 check for Facebook ads, it really freaked me out. I was like, $400? Wow, that's a lot of money for an ad, because at the end of the ad, the money is gone, right? And then when you start writing $10,000 ads for marketing and whatever, it's like, oh, wait a second. Oh, yeah, that $400 was not such a big deal. But you have to get used to every step. You're not going to go from zero to $10,000 in ads. Not going to happen. But if you go from zero to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 1200, 1200 to 2000, and you start building up as you go, that becomes the new norm. And in order for you to have a multi-million-dollar cleaning business, you have to accept the new norms as you grow your business. Trying to manage 5 people on your team. Whoa, 5 people, I've got to manage. And then, whoa, 5 people, I'm responsible for putting food on their table and getting them jobs. There are 5 families that are expecting me for payroll this week, right? That's going to freak you out the first time that happens. And when you have 30 employees, it only compounds that. So to grow a multi-million-dollar cleaning business, and this is what no one's going to tell you, the stress goes up, the money goes up, what's expected of you goes up, your responsibilities go up, the hassles from the employees and the customers and everything goes up. Your need for customer service increases. Everything increases. Everything gets bigger. And if you are not accustomed to the small, tiny, incremental bits of growth along the way and accepting the new norms as you go and as you grow, you're not going to be able to sustain it. And then you get to the $1 million cleaning business and you might be there for a month. Woohoo, I arrived. And the next month you're flat on your butt, broke again, or you're in the hospital because you had a heart attack because it was so overwhelming to you. You didn't know how to do it and your body just crashed. That's what nobody tells you about running a $1 million cleaning business. So what I want to encourage you to do today is this. Stop and find out, why do you want to have a $1 million cleaning business? What does that mean for you? What does that actually look like? And what is that going to give you on the other side? Does that mean more time with your family? Does that mean more vacations? Does that mean more time off? And if that is the case, I promise you this. If you work 20 hours a day for 14 years, which is what I did in my cleaning business, no one is coming to graduate you. No one is coming to say, hey, you paid your dues, you now get to take a vacation. And if you have the money and it's sitting in the bank, but you don't know how to take the vacation and you haven't scheduled a vacation, it's not going to happen either. And you're going to sabotage those behaviors. So what you have to do is this. Starting today, you're one person. You have to start scheduling your vacations. You have to start having dinner with your family, face-to-face, no electronics allowed. You have to start creating those magical moments that would be the result of your multi-million-dollar business. You have to start creating those right now in smaller versions so that that becomes your new norm. And then when you get where you're going, it's your new norm and you're comfortable with it and you don't sabotage it. So when you finally reach a $1 million cleaning business, I want you to be able to look in the mirror and go, oh yeah, but of course, you were expecting it all along. It's the next natural step. Until a $1 million cleaning business is your next natural step, it's not going to be sustainable for you and you're not going to be able to achieve it long term. So I want you to start thinking right now in terms of, I already have a $1 million cleaning business. And what does that look like for me? How does a $1 million cleaning service owner behave? What are the decisions that they're making? What kind of choices are they making? What kind of learning are they bringing into their company? What kind of skills are they acquiring on a daily basis? How are they spending their free time? Those are the things that you have to start doing and implementing right now, so that when that comes to you, it doesn't smack you upside the head and completely catch you off guard. It will be, of course, that's the next natural step. All right, that is what $1 million cleaning business owners will not tell you, and it's what now you know. And so moving forward, you're on your way to success. All right, keep me posted. I am eager to hear your results. You guys know how to find me. I'm on all the social medias, and I really want to hear your personal journey because I'm here and I'm rooting for you and your success.